pressure improvements. There are several things that were on the list of new transformers, lots of things for all the different utilities. And most importantly is we have to remember that there are projects out there in the future that are multi-million-dollar projects. We could be needing to add another substation, for example, for electric. We know we have big needs in front of us in gas to replace cast iron pipe. We may need additional sewer capacity. We know we need one water tower. You all approved a lease for that, and the pipes to run up to it and everything. So it's not enough just to say we're going to fund only what we need right now, but we have to look ahead. Not that we have to save all that money up front, but sooner or later we're going to have some of it. Another thing that City Council did back in just prior to implementing the budget was they said that they wanted to have the 2% sales tax. That was actually done earlier, but they at the same time y'all passed the sales tax. You said half of what that sales tax generates has to go into a special savings account and cannot be spent. And then another thing you did to create a safety net for 2010 was to mandate that there would be no annual pay increase, no COLA, no merit increases for city employees. And between those two things, that generated what we thought was going to be a very appropriate and adequate safety net. Okay, then if you go back to the planning for success model, once you have the plan and the budget, then you perform against that, which we've now performed for 6 months, and you measure the results, and again, you've received your financial statements. And here's what I call the 2 rules of performance measurements. Whenever you have financial information, the first rule is that whatever you're doing, you should only compare it to the budget. That's the only meaningful comparison. It's fine when you make up the budget to talk about what you did in the prior year, what you did 3 years before that. But once the budget is set, then focus your concentration on, are we making budget or are we not? But that's the only thing that's important. And then the second rule is pretty straightforward. See rule number 1. You just have to focus on, are we making budget? And so let's analyze. We've had all the numbers, and are we meeting our budget goals? And these are my opinions. But are we going to be, at this point in time, can you comfortably say we're going to be on budget at the end of the year? Now, we have some projections that say maybe we will, maybe we won't. But I think at this point in time, the correct answer is to say, no, we're not meeting that goal that was established by council to end the year on budget. We have a lot of ideas in place on how we can get there, and I applaud all of our efforts that we've made so far this year and what we'll do in the future. But I'm not comfortable that we're actually going to end the year on budget unless we really work very, very hard to get there. This is not a gimmick. Are we accumulating adequate rainy day money in the general fund and each utility fund? In my view, the answer is no. Are we accumulating some money? The answer is yes. Are we accumulating what the budget goals actually were? We're not on track to do that. We haven't yet had to tap into the sales tax fund, and I don't think anybody has any intention of doing that. But it wasn't just about saving money from the sales tax. There were goals in the budget that said, beyond the sales tax, we're going to save money here and here and here and here, and accumulate funds in each one of the utilities for a rainy day. And I think we're not quite reaching that goal. Are we meeting budget goal in the sense that each department has enough capital for basic maintenance and critical improvement projects? And the answer is, I think not. Are we doing some things? Sure we are. But one of the ways that we're going to try and meet our overall budget goal for this year is by not spending money we said we were going to spend on critical improvement projects. So far as I know, the council's already decided not to do the computer-aided dispatch system for the police department, and I think it's already been decided to defer spending on the training room for the fire department, and on and on and on. So, it's an admirable attempt to push these off to meet budget, but my point is that you're kind of taking away from one hand, so on the other hand you can meet a number. So I think you have to look at all these things in context. And the context is we're not really succeeding in meeting the goals we'd set out for ourselves. And then finally, are we generating enough profits in the utilities to reduce transfers and still accumulate enough capital reserves to fund all the things we wanted? And here again, I think we're behind the curve. Now, I think that everybody has some optimism that maybe we'll catch up, maybe we won't, but I don't think at this point you can comfortably say, yes, we are for sure going to meet these goals. I think you have to be very candid and honest with yourself and say, this goal is in jeopardy. Okay, so now we've looked at the first item, which was create the plan budget, then we measured our performance, and now it's time to get into what was really the topic of this presentation, which is to analyze the results and the opportunities for improvement. And why are we below goals? This is a long list. I've picked out some of the higher ones.